Hey everyone, welcome to my channel, I'm Anime Octopus. Today, we're diving into an intriguing fanfic scenario. What if Naruko learned she was abandoned on purpose? Part 2. Before we begin, a quick disclaimer, all content on this channel is for entertainment and discussion purposes only. I do not own any anime footage used in my videos, all rights and credits go to their respective creators and copyright holders. Let's jump right in and explore this what if scenario. Yue and Naruko walked up the mountain, the morning sun shining through the trees. After about an hour of hiking, they finally reached a small, cozy house tucked into the side of the mountain. Yue opened the door, and they stepped inside. The house was simple but welcoming. A tiny kitchen with a table for two sat to the side, and next to it was a small living room with a single couch. At the back was a modest bedroom. "You'll start your training tomorrow," Yue said, setting down a large scroll. "Go by the river to wash up, and then we'll have dinner. After that, you'll need your rest." Naruko's eyes sparkled with excitement. She had spent so long traveling, and now her real adventure was about to begin. Yue began unpacking some of the luggage from his scroll. He pulled out a small pig and some vegetables, carefully arranging them in the kitchen. Soon, the smell of cooking filled the room. Naruko wandered outside and spotted a sparkling river nearby. She quickly slipped out of her travel clothes and jumped into the water. The river was chilly, but she laughed, splashing and washing off the day's journey. Soon she put on her fresh clothes and returned to the house, where Yue was already cooking. She plopped onto the couch, watching him move with practiced ease. An hour later, Yue called her to the table. They ate dinner together, talking and laughing as they got to know each other. Naruko was surprised at how easy it was to talk to him, almost like they had known each other forever. Afterward, she helped clear the dishes, and then they relaxed in the cozy living room. "All right, Naruko, time for bed," Yue said, glancing at the darkening sky. "Where am I sleeping?" Naruko asked, hoping for the comfy couch. Yue's face went serious. "Outside." Naruko's eyes widened in shock. "Outside? But it's raining." Yue tried to keep a straight face, but he couldn't help himself. He burst out laughing, clutching his stomach. Naruko turned around, confused and frustrated. "You told me to," she shouted. "I was kidding," Yue chuckled, finally letting her climb onto the couch. Naruko happily curled up in her sleeping bag and fell asleep instantly. Yue smiled at her peaceful face and went to wash up by the river before settling in himself. The next morning, Naruko woke at 5 a.m. She tiptoed around the small house, checking on Yue. Pressing her ear against his door, she heard a gentle voice muttering, "Hitomi-chan, you're so beautiful." Naruko froze. "What?" She burst into the room, and Yue, wearing his sunglasses even in the morning, blinked sleepily. "Naruko. What's wrong?" he asked. "It's 5 a.m., she exclaimed. Yue checked his watch and sighed. "Ah, must have overslept. Sorry about that." He smiled sheepishly, and Naruko rolled her eyes but couldn't hide her smile. After a quick breakfast, they stepped outside. "Today, we start with taijutsu, hand-to-hand training. Nothing fancy, just basics," Yue explained. Naruko's heart thumped nervously. She had practiced a little fighting, but mostly she had trained her body and practiced chakra control. "All right, let's get this over with," she muttered, facing him. Naruko dashed forward, trying a punch. Yue easily sidestepped, and with a gentle tap, tripped her onto the soft grass. She rolled up, laughing at her own clumsiness. Yue threw a slow punch, which Naruko dodged, then a light kick that made her stumble backward. "Wow, that was fast," she said, impressed with Yue's skill. They continued, with Naruko trying new combinations of punches and kicks while Yue guided her. Every time she missed, Yue gave her tips, and every time she succeeded, he cheered. By the end, Naruko was tired but thrilled. "You don't have a formal style yet," Yue said, brushing a leaf off her shoulder. "But that's okay, this makes it easier for me to teach you." Naruko's eyes lit up. "Really? I thought I was terrible." "You just need practice," Yue said with a grin. "Now, for your first real training, I want you to run to the harbor and back, sending chakra to your feet as you go. It's a little tricky, but it will help you control your power." Naruko's eyes widened as she imagined running up the mountain, but she nodded. She took a deep breath, focusing, and ran off, determined to prove herself. 6 hours later. Naruko finally reached the house, her clothes soaked from sweat. The run had been exhausting. It felt like it would never end, and concentrating chakra in just one foot at a time had made every step feel like climbing a mountain. She even had fainted halfway up. All she could do now was hope she wouldn't have to do this again anytime soon. Naruko looked around for Yue but couldn't see him. She checked the house and eventually found him behind it. The area there was bigger than she expected, probably because the forest stretched behind the house. Yue was in a fighting stance Naruko had never seen before. 10 dummies were placed at various distances in front of him. Yue didn't seem to notice her yet and continued his training. In a blink, he vanished and reappeared behind a dummy, striking it with precision. One by one, he moved from dummy to dummy, defeating them all in mere seconds. Naruko's eyes widened in awe. Her father had just defeated all 10 dummies instantly. She had never imagined anyone could move that fast. Even the legendary Minato would need seals to do what Yue did with ease. If anything, Yue made Minato seem slow in comparison. "Alright, Naruko, you can come out now," Yue called, brushing some dirt off his clothes. Naruko stepped out of her hiding spot and approached him. "So, how was your jog?" Yue asked. "Horrible," Naruko replied simply. Yue chuckled. "Ha ha, don't worry. You'll get used to it. You'll be doing this every morning." Naruko's eyes widened in shock, and she sank to the ground. Yue laughed, picked her up gently, and set her on the couch before preparing lunch for both of them. Naruko woke to the smell of food. Lunch was on the table, and Yue was waiting patiently. She ran to the table, her earlier exhaustion making her extra hungry. They ate together in comfortable silence. "Hey, To-san, what was that move you just used? It looked amazing," Naruko asked, curiosity shining in her eyes. "Hee, awesome, isn't it?" Yue replied. "It's part of the Barong Taijutsu style. But you'll need to learn other styles first before I can teach you Barong style." Naruko nodded eagerly. She couldn't wait to learn different taijutsu, especially the Barong style. "Awesome. I can't wait," she exclaimed, jumping up, but her legs gave out, and she tumbled back onto the couch. "You'll start proper training tomorrow," Yue said with a smile, "but tonight, I want you to read this scroll. It covers the basics of the tiger style. Study it carefully, and we'll see what you've learned tomorrow." Naruko nodded, quickly finished her lunch, and settled onto the couch with the scroll, her mind buzzing with excitement. Next day. Naruko woke sore all over, especially her legs. Breakfast was already on the table, and she ate quickly before heading out for her dreaded jog. When she returned, Yue was waiting in his battle clothes. "Alright, Naruko. After lunch, let's see what you've learned from the scroll," he said. They ate, then went to the backyard and assumed battle stances, Naruko in her newly learned tiger stance, and Yue ready to spar. "Ready?" Yue asked. Naruko nodded. "Begin," Yue said. Naruko dashed forward, remembering that tiger style was all about quick strikes. She threw a right hook, which Yue blocked, but then she noticed an opening and sent a strong uppercut toward his stomach. "What the?" She learns fast, even without practice. Yue thought, impressed. He dodged a roundhouse kick, then tested her defenses with a jab. Naruko blocked it, and with quick reflexes, she blocked another. When Yue sent an uppercut, she was sent a few feet back, but she grinned, excited by the challenge. "Alright, that's enough for today," Yue said, walking over. "You're a fast learner." Naruko smiled proudly. "This is going to be your training for a while. Once you master these basics, then I can teach you Barong style. In your free time, study other taijutsu styles and maybe some Fuinjutsu too," Yue instructed. Naruko nodded, and they went inside for lunch. During lunchtime, they talked and bonded like a real father and daughter. "Hey, To-san, why did you want to travel the world?" Naruko asked. "I never liked staying in one place too long. I wanted to learn from different people and places," Yue said. "I was considered a genius, like you, but I didn't have a strong motive to learn anything at first. I often skipped classes to relax or sleep." He paused, smiling at the memories. "I didn't want to be a ruler, I loved traveling more. My brother Singh was better at ruling anyway. I loved exploring, he loved leading. During my travels, I mastered many different taijutsu styles. Enough about me, how about you, Naruko? Why do you want to get stronger?" Naruko thought for a moment. "At first, I wanted to prove I could get stronger on my own. Then I met Yoko, and she told me about her troubles. I wanted to be strong enough to protect her, and anyone else I care about." "Ah, Yoko," Yue said, smiling softly. "So you want to grow stronger to protect the people you love?" "Yeah, I guess you could say that," Naruko nodded. "That's amazing. You're not seeking strength to dominate others, but to help and protect. That's the kind of person I'm proud to train, Yue said warmly. So, if I ever needed help, would you help me? Naruko hesitated but smiled. Sure, but you're pretty strong already. I'm sure you could handle yourself. Yue laughed, shedding a few exaggerated anime-style tears of joy, feeling the bond with Naruko grow stronger. After lunch, Naruko continued studying the tiger style, while Yue polished his sunglasses, both enjoying the calm moments of learning and family connection. 3 years later. Over the past 3 years, Naruko had grown tremendously. She had mastered many martial arts styles: tiger, snake, flamingo, monkey, praying mantis, lion, bear, and even the legendary dragon style, which had been the most challenging for her. Each style taught her balance, flexibility, and focus, and Naruko felt herself becoming stronger both physically and mentally. Yue had added new challenges to her morning routine. He gave Naruko weighted clothes and gravity seals to wear while training. At first, she could barely move, but gradually, she adapted. Eventually, she could complete the entire grueling routine in 3 hours. Yue also had her punch and kick trees to strengthen her fists and legs, along with special arm exercises to keep her proportions balanced. For her arm workouts, Naruko did push-ups and pull-ups, but with a twist. Each time she lowered herself, she had to focus her chakra into her movements, releasing it as she pushed herself back up. It was difficult at first because it required concentration and control, but her efforts paid off. Over time, her chakra control improved drastically, her body became more toned, and her legs and fists became as strong as solid wood. Naruko also devoted herself to learning Fuinjutsu, sealing techniques. She spent many hours reading scrolls and practicing. While she still considered herself a low-level practitioner, her skills were steadily improving. Her ninjutsu practice focused mostly on chakra exercises and mastering her elemental affinities. For her shadow clones, she could now create 20 at once, compared to just 10 before, which made her training much more effective. Her relationship with Yue also grew warmer over time. Sometimes he took her on trips to gather supplies, and she enjoyed these small adventures. But one habit of Yue's always annoyed her: whenever a particularly pretty or stylish woman walked by, he would start charming her. Naruko found clever ways to intervene, often telling the woman Yue was already married, much to his embarrassment. Flashback, 1 year ago. Naruko and her father, Yue, were walking toward a village in Hino Kuni to get some supplies. Yue hadn't told her the destination, leaving Naruko to wonder where they were going. She silently hoped it wasn't that village. She was still upset at him for leaving her alone without food during a previous trip. As they neared the village gates, Naruko's sharp eyes caught sight of the village symbol, and she froze in frustration. They were near Konoha. "Why are we here, To-san?" she asked in a cool, measured tone. "There's a store here with some of the best meat in the land," Yue replied. "Once we get what we need, we'll leave as quickly as possible. Don't worry, you won't be recognized. Your chakra, appearance, and even your whisker marks have all been adjusted. Only your spiky hair might give you away, but plenty of people have spiky hair." Naruko nodded politely, but inside, she was plotting a small bit of revenge for all the times her father had left her in difficult situations. She quickened her pace, eager to leave the village. But then she noticed Yue lingering behind, chatting with a stunning black-haired woman. Her eyes narrowed. It was Uchiha Mikoto. Naruko's mind raced. She had to stop her father from embarrassing himself. Yue started introducing himself. "Hello there, my name is Yue, and I must say you look. To-san. You're married. What happens if mommy finds out you're flirting?" Naruko interrupted, raising her voice. Mikoto's eyes widened as she glared at Yue. Yue took a step back, stunned. Mikoto, a woman who understood the importance of loyalty, fixed her sharp gaze on him. "You can't be serious. How could you do this?" she exclaimed firmly, making Yue retreat further. Then, she turned to Naruko. Their eyes met, and she paused, recognizing something familiar. "And Naruto-kun?" she whispered. Naruko quickly thought of a name. "I'm Yamamoto," she said, making it up on the spot. Mikoto nodded and stepped back, her suspicion eased. "Sorry about that. I'll be going now. Goodbye," she said politely, leaving the scene. Naruko waved and helped her father regain his balance. "Your problem, man," Yue muttered, wincing. "Your fault. First, for leaving me alone last time. Second, for bringing me here," Naruko replied calmly. "Not my fault. I told you, they have the best meat here. Yue protested. Nearby, a civilian shinobi observed them quietly. Little did he know, this curious observer was Itachi Uchiha, Naruko's surrogate older brother, taking a day off from duty. Naruko wiped the sweat from her forehead after finishing her morning run. At 12 years old, she stood about 5 feet 2 inches, her light blue hair wild and spiky as ever, reaching just past her mid-forehead. Today felt special. Her father, Yue, had promised a surprise, and she hoped it had something to do with learning Barong's taijutsu. The sun was high in the sky, lunchtime by now, so she headed back inside. Inside, Yue was sitting at the table, a simple lunch laid out before him. They ate together, laughing about small things, before Yue stood and said, "Go outside, Naruko. It's time for your surprise." Outside, Yue was dressed in his battle gear, a black muscle shirt, black shinobi pants, and fingerless gloves. Naruko bounced on the balls of her feet, excitement sparkling in her eyes. "Today I want you to give everything you've got. Same rule, taijutsu only," Yue said. Naruko nodded eagerly. She had been training hard and was ready to give her father a real challenge. In an instant, they assumed their stances. Naruko's was the newly learned dragon stance, while Yue's was the tiger stance. They stared each other down, waiting for the first move. Yue made the first move, charging with a kick aimed at Naruko's stomach. She blocked it with her arm, then threw 2 quick jabs, causing Yue to stagger forward. Naruko spun into a roundhouse kick aimed at Yue's head, but Yue blocked with his arm and returned a right hook, sending Naruko a few steps back. She shook off the pain, leapt forward, and attempted another roundhouse kick. Yue sidestepped, but Naruko cleverly landed a front somersault and used the momentum to punch Yue right between the eyes, breaking his favorite pair of sunglasses in the process. Yue froze, then looked down in horror at the shattered sunglasses. "No! My shades," he cried dramatically, dropping to his knees. Naruko blinked, unsure whether to laugh or panic. Her father's love for sunglasses was legendary. When Yue finally regained composure, he glared at her with mock menace. "You'll pay for that," he said, getting back into his fighting stance. The battle continued. Yue launched a powerful uppercut, which Naruko barely dodged, and she countered with a leg sweep, followed by an elbow strike. Yue rolled to avoid a stomp and readied himself for a final move. He charged, then changed his attack mid-strike, landing a hook and an uppercut that sent Naruko flying into the air. She landed in a small crater but, though exhausted, she managed to get up. Yue floated down gracefully, clearly impressed. "You okay there?" he asked casually. "Yeah. Let's keep going," Naruko said, brushing herself off. Then Yue reached into his pocket and pulled out a spare pair of shades, which left Naruko speechless. With a flash, Yue teleported behind her, and Naruko instinctively dodged, but he was already preparing another strike. Exhausted, she collapsed onto the ground, letting herself rest for a moment. 3 hours later, Naruko woke to find bandages wrapped around her, sitting on the couch alongside Yue, who was also lightly bandaged. "Looks like you're ready to learn Barong Taijutsu," Yue said with a smile. Naruko's eyes widened. Yue began explaining. "The basics of Barong Taijutsu start with Hypasupido, hyperspeed. It allows you to move incredibly fast by sending chakra to your feet and blasting off. You've been running so you can do this naturally." He continued, explaining that this technique could also enhance attacks or allow chakra-based projectiles. There were limits, of course, it only worked in straight lines, could only be used 3 times before a short rest, and the destination couldn't change once chosen. Skilled opponents could predict it if they noticed patterns. Naruko listened carefully, imagining how fast she could become. Faster than anyone in the elemental nations, how exciting. "Ready to try?" Yue asked. "Absolutely," she replied, racing outside with him. They reached the backyard, now lined with training dummies. Yue demonstrated first, teleporting behind a dummy in a flash. Naruko focused, sent chakra to her feet, and blasted toward her target. She arrived instantly, panting from the effort. "Whoa! This is tough," she admitted. Yue nodded, impressed that she grasped it on her first try. Next, Yue taught her no Yari, the spear of the king. By condensing chakra into a punch, the force could pierce almost anything. He demonstrated, obliterating several dummies in a single strike. Then he showed the ultimate move, Kyukyoku no O no Kobushi no Ichigeki, the ultimate king fist blow, sending a massive chakra beam through the training area. The sheer power amazed Naruko. "Only use it in emergencies," Yue warned, "or your arm could be sore for a long time." Naruko nodded, understanding that great power came with responsibility. Alright, Naruko. Let's start practicing your hyper speed, Yue said. With renewed energy, Naruko trained alongside her father, racing across the yard and perfecting the incredible speed she had always dreamed of mastering. 4 years later. It had been 4 years since Naruko started her training in the Barong style. This style was tricky to master, it required excellent chakra control and precision in every move. The Barong style itself was complex, combining unique taijutsu with techniques from other styles, which allowed Naruko to blend everything she had learned into one fluid, powerful form. During these 4 years, Naruko spent most of her time training in taijutsu. For Fuinjutsu, she had mastered almost everything from the scroll Yue had given her. She could confidently say she was nearly at Seal Master level, though not quite as advanced as Yue or her father. Her ninjutsu skills were steadily improving too, somewhere between high chunin and low jonin level, but her heart always leaned more toward Fuinjutsu and taijutsu. Her bond with her father had grown even stronger over the years. Naruko shared almost everything with him, and Yue was always there to guide her. Whenever Yue flirted playfully with someone during their supply trips, Naruko would just zoom over with her hyper speed and gently bop him away, laughing. Yue helped her with Barong Taijutsu and Fuinjutsu whenever she asked and even tried to teach her a bit of ninjutsu, though he admitted it wasn't his strong suit. Now 16 years old, Naruko had grown into a strong young woman. She stood at 5 feet 7 inches, her hair long and wild with spiky ends, framing her face and giving her a spirited look. Her body was toned from years of training, and her features had matured gracefully. Today, she wore a fitted black training shirt and gray shinobi pants, ready for another day of practice. It was noon, and she had just finished her taijutsu session. She hadn't yet mastered the Barong style, but she was close, and her father had said that if she kept training this hard, she could fully master it in about 2 years, faster than he had. Naruko felt proud and excited at the thought. Today, however, felt different. Yue had called her inside earlier with a serious expression, and Naruko couldn't shake the feeling that something important was about to happen. She stepped into the house and found Yue sitting at the kitchen table, the Barong scroll and 2 boxes in front of him. She sat across from him cautiously. "Hey, Dad. What did you want to talk about?" she asked. Yue smiled gently. "I want one more spar, Naruko. One last time." Naruko blinked, confused. "Wait. Why? Are you leaving or something?" Yue shook his head. "Nah, I'm not leaving. Not really. It's more like, it's my time to step back. But before I do, I want to spar with you one last time. After that, I'll make my decision." Naruko nodded slowly, understanding what he wanted. Even if it was the last spar, she wanted it too. "Alright. Let's go." Outside, the sun was bright and warm. Naruko and Yue faced each other, sharing a determined look. With a nod, the spar began. They moved with lightning speed, their punches and kicks so fast that they left after images. Every time they attacked, they met in a lock of strength and skill. Naruko dashed behind Yue with her hyper speed, but Yue anticipated her and sidestepped, turning to counter. She leapt into the air, matching him blow for blow. Their movements created gusts of wind that ruffled the grass and sent leaves flying. After several minutes, both of them landed, breathing heavily but smiling. "Let's finish this, Naruko. One final move," Yue said. Both enveloped their right arms in glowing chakra. The energy grew brighter and bigger, swirling around them as they shouted in unison. "Kyukyoku no o no kobushi no ichigeki." A giant beam of pure chakra surged from each of them, clashing in the middle. Naruko pushed with all her strength, and though her power was immense, Yue's experience was overwhelming. Light surrounded her, and she felt herself losing focus for a moment, but it was exhilarating, testing her limits like never before. After an hour, Naruko finally opened her eyes. She found Yue sitting calmly, smiling at her. "So, you're finally awake," he said, amused. Naruko grinned, rubbing her arm. "How did I do?" Yue's smile widened. "You did wonderfully. I'm proud of you, Naruko. Truly." He handed her the 2 boxes on the table. "I left you a few gifts, along with one final lesson. A genius who doesn't put in effort cannot surpass someone who works hard. Always work hard, never back down, and remember why you train and grow stronger." Naruko leaned closer to hear him. "Make me proud, Naruko," Yue said softly. And then, gently, he began to fade away, leaving her with a calm warmth in her heart. Tears welled in Naruko's eyes, but she smiled through them. She opened the first box and found a pair of gloves, designed to fit her perfectly and protect her hands while training. The letter with them explained that the gloves were durable and nearly impenetrable, a gift for her hard work. Alongside it was a summoning scroll, containing the legendary dragon her family had protected for generations, but with a strict rule: she couldn't use it until she was ready. The second box held a sleek gray trench coat with a hood, long enough to reach past her knees, decorated with straps and metallic accents, a stylish, practical gift for her adventures ahead. There were also shades tucked inside, with a note promising even more fun and excitement. Naruko held the gifts carefully, feeling the weight of responsibility and possibility. She smiled to herself, thinking of the journey ahead, determined to honor Yue's teachings and grow stronger every day. "Time to see what I'm really capable of," she whispered, standing tall and ready for whatever came next. He, it looked like Naruko had discovered her other present. She carefully unwrapped the custom coat, noticing the bright, cheerful design that seemed made just for her. "Wow! It even says my name inside," she exclaimed. Her eyes widened as she noticed a small tag reading, "Fireproof." "And these shades?" a voice called from behind. Naruko turned to see her friend smiling. "Welcome to the family, Naruko. Oh, and if these ever break by accident, I left a scroll with enough pairs of shades to last you forever. You'll never have to worry about broken shades again." Naruko's face lit up. She picked up the scroll and carefully placed it inside her family's storage scroll. Then she slipped on the coat, feeling its warmth and protection. She gave a little twirl, imagining all the adventures she could have. "And one more thing," her friend said, handing her a neatly folded map of the elemental nations. "Here's a map to guide you. Go find your path, and make us all proud." Naruko took a deep breath, feeling a mix of excitement and determination. She gently closed the door behind her and unfolded the map. Her finger hovered over the lands in front of her. She was currently in the middle of Kaminari no Kuni, with Mizu no Kuni not too far away. Kaminari no Kuni was closer to Konoha, but Naruko felt drawn toward the distant waters. "Mizu no Kuni it is," she declared, her voice full of energy. She imagined herself walking along misty rivers and sparkling lakes, hoping to find a master to guide her in Kenjutsu. With a final adjustment to her coat and shades, Naruko began her journey. She didn't know what surprises awaited her in Mizu no Kuni, but she felt ready for anything. Adventure was calling, and she was determined to make every step count. Naruko had finally arrived in Nami no Kuni. It had taken her about a week of travel on a small boat, but she had made it safely. She now wore the long trench coat her father had given her, which she absolutely loved. The metal pieces sewn into it were surprisingly heavy, but Naruko could control the weight with the seals her father had taught her to use. Her gloves felt like a second layer of skin, soft and effortless, as if she had been wearing them her whole life. She had also placed a blood storage seal on her upper arm to safely seal away her family scrolls. Her black shinobi pants and sandals also contained hidden weights that she could control, and her pants had 2 small pouches for tools. The shades her father had given her sat on her face like a mysterious mask, making it impossible for anyone in her old village to recognize her. Naruko felt ready for anything. The first step she took in Nami no Kuni, however, filled her with a heavy sadness. She remembered this land as a prosperous, lively place from her previous visits with her father. But now, everything was different. The streets were empty, homes were in disrepair, and people wandered aimlessly or begged for food. Fear painted their faces, and when Naruko approached, they recoiled and hid. Who could have done this? She whispered to herself, her fists clenching. Anger burned in her chest, but she knew she needed to find the cause, not just react. A man sitting by a hut caught her attention. She stepped forward and began to speak. "Excuse me, sir, can I?" But before she could finish, the man threw a small rock at her. "Get away from me. I don't have any money," he shouted. "Wait, sir, I think Naruko tried again, but he cut her off, throwing another rock. She dodged easily and held back her frustration. "I will find the cause of this. And I will fix it," she thought, her determination firm. She wandered further through the village, every attempt to speak to someone failing. By the time she reached the outskirts, the scene became even more heartbreaking. From behind a small hut came the sound of soft crying. Naruko quickly approached and gently pushed open the door. What she saw made her stomach twist. On the ground lay a man, badly injured, struggling to stay conscious. "Hey! Mister! Wake up!" she called, kneeling beside him. The man coughed weakly and tried to speak. They took my wife. Please. Save her. Who did this? Who? Naruko asked. Gee Gato. And his men, he whispered before his body went still. Naruko clenched her fists, taking a deep breath to calm herself. Her eyes then fell on a little girl hiding in the corner. She could not have been more than 5 or 6, with shoulder-length black hair and wide, frightened eyes. It's okay, I won't hurt you, Naruko said softly, offering a reassuring smile. Slowly, the girl relaxed, though still wary. My mommy. They took her, the girl whispered. Daddy tried to stop them, but they hurt him. Naruko knelt and hugged the girl gently. Don't worry. I'll help you. I'll find those bad guys and bring your mommy back safely. What's your name? Akane, the girl replied softly. That's a beautiful name, Naruko said, ruffling Akane's hair. Akane quickly fixed her hair, shy but comforted by Naruko's presence. Okay, Akane. You can come with me, but you have to stay close and be very quiet. It might be dangerous, Naruko explained, lifting Akane onto her back. Oh, and my name is Naruko. Together, they gave Akane's father a proper resting place, then set out to find a safe spot for the night. Most inns were full or occupied by Gato's men, and each time Naruko asked for help, she received the same answer, no room. As the night grew darker, Naruko continued walking carefully through the streets, Akane quietly asleep on her back. Then, from somewhere nearby, a voice screamed, "Ah! Someone help me!" Naruko's head snapped toward the sound. She moved quickly, making sure not to wake Akane, her heart pounding with a mix of concern and resolve. She knew this was just the beginning of a journey that would test her courage, and her kindness, like never before. Minutes later, Naruko noticed a woman calling for help, while 2 men were trying to pull her away. Get your hands off my daughter, shouted an older man, rushing forward, only to be gently held back by the men. Naruko's heart raced. She wanted to help, but she paused. She had to think, if she rushed in carelessly, both the woman and the man could be in danger. Stop, she shouted, focusing her energy. Suddenly, her eyes sparkled with a bright, fiery light, and her movements became almost impossible to follow. In a flash, she dashed forward, scooping up the woman in a careful, protective hold. With astonishing speed, Naruko moved around the men, guiding them gently but firmly out of the way, making sure no one was hurt. The old man and the woman watched in astonishment, unable to believe what they were seeing. What? How did you do that? The old man stammered. Naruko blinked, her eyes returning to normal. She was surprised herself. She remembered watching her father train long ago, seeing him move so fast it seemed like magic. Now, somehow, she had learned to do the same. Flashback. Naruko had peeked into her father Yue's training ground one morning. He stood among dozens of wooden training dummies, moving so fast that it seemed the dummies fell all at once without him even touching each one individually. Naruko had been amazed and confused, but her father had just smiled and said, "You'll understand when the time comes." End flashback. Back in the present, Naruko gently set the woman down and guided the men away so they could safely leave. Then she looked at the old man and his daughter. "You're safe now," Naruko said kindly. "But you should get somewhere secure to rest." "Thank you," said the woman, her voice shaking but full of gratitude. She introduced herself. "I'm Tsunami, and this is my father, Tazuna. You saved us." "Truly." Naruko bowed slightly. "I'm Naruko. I was just passing through, but I couldn't leave anyone in danger." Tazuna chuckled softly. "You have a brave heart, Naruko. Thank you. Would you like to stay at our inn for the night?" Naruko nodded, smiling. She gently helped Tsunami inside to rest, then spoke with the owners about a place to stay. Once seated, Naruko explained, "I'm looking for a master of sword skills to continue my training. I never expected to find trouble along the way, but I guess that's life." Tsunami's eyes widened. "Trouble? What kind of trouble?" Naruko took a deep breath. "A powerful man named Gato has taken control of this region. He's been causing fear and hardship among the people here. I want to help, but I need to gather information first." Tazuna frowned, worried. "Naruko, he's dangerous. You're just a young girl. How could you face someone like that?" "I may be young, but I've been training a long time," Naruko said with quiet determination. "I will find a way to help. I can't just stand by while people suffer." Tsunami and Tazuna exchanged a look of surprise, but Naruko's confidence was clear. "I'll rest for tonight," Naruko continued. "Tomorrow, I'll find out what I can do to help everyone here." She nodded to them politely, then went to her room. She knew this was only the beginning of her adventure, but Naruko felt ready. With courage, cleverness, and kindness, she could face whatever challenges came next. Naruko stepped into the bright village streets, the sunlight warming her face. She adjusted her headband and looked around, thinking carefully. All right. Let's see what I can learn about Gato and make sure Akane and everyone stay safe, she whispered to herself. Her determination made her feel stronger than ever. She moved through the marketplace, quietly observing the villagers and listening to their conversations. People talked about merchants, travelers, and odd events happening nearby. Naruko scribbled notes in a small notebook she always carried. She noticed a few traders whispering nervously about someone asking strange questions about bridges and shipments. That could be connected to Gato, she muttered, her eyes narrowing thoughtfully. Naruko made a plan. She would follow the trail carefully, asking questions where she could, but without drawing attention. As she turned a corner, she felt a small tug on her sleeve. Looking down, she saw Akane standing there, trying to sneak after her. Akane, Naruko exclaimed, crouching to her little friend's level. I told you to stay with Tsunami-san. This is dangerous. I wanted to help, Akane said, her eyes sparkling with determination. I don't want you to go alone. Naruko's expression softened. She smiled warmly, brushing Akane's hair back gently. You're brave, I'll give you that. But there's a difference between being brave and being safe. You have to promise me you'll stay here and help Tsunami-san while I'm gone, okay? Akane hesitated, then nodded reluctantly. Promise. Good, Naruko said, standing back up. Now, I'll bring back answers and then we can have our adventure together. With that, Naruko continued through the village, moving toward the outskirts where travelers and merchants often stopped. Along the way, she practiced her ninja skills quietly, rolling, dodging, and balancing on rooftops, all while staying alert. She liked practicing her moves in public. People often thought she was just being playful, but she was secretly learning how to react to any situation. Eventually, she spotted a traveling merchant who seemed to know more about the suspicious traders. Using her cheerful, curious voice, she asked, "Excuse me, have you seen anyone asking strange questions about bridges or shipments?" The merchant's eyes widened, and he leaned closer. Yes, there was a tall man with a shiny coat. He asked about which bridges were most important to the village. I thought it was odd, but I didn't think much of it. Naruko scribbled in her notebook. Thank you. That helps a lot. She paused, thinking. I have to find out more about this man. But carefully. No rushing in blindly. As the sun began to lower in the sky, Naruko found a quiet spot near a small hill overlooking the village. She sat down, opened her bento, and ate thoughtfully. She didn't mind eating alone, it gave her time to plan. Between bites of rice and vegetables, she reviewed everything she had learned that day. Okay, she whispered to herself, I know a little more, but I need more clues. And I need to get back safely to Akane. Her eyes sparkled with determination. I'm not just protecting the village. I'm protecting my friends, too. And I'll figure this out no matter what. Just then, a gentle breeze rustled the grass, and Naruko felt a sense of calm. Somewhere back in the inn, Akane and Tsunami were probably waiting, trusting her to come back. That thought gave her a warm, reassuring feeling. With renewed energy, Naruko stood up. Tomorrow, I'll get closer to the answers. And then, I'll come back and finally play with Akane. And with that, she began her careful journey back to the village, ready to face whatever mysteries came next, one step at a time. Main village. Naruko walked through the village once again, her bright headband bouncing as she weaved between the market stalls. It had already been about 4 hours, and she returned to the inns where she had been told the Gato men stayed. When she got there, the receptionist shook his head. I'm sorry, miss, but they leave every morning, he said politely. Naruko frowned but nodded. I see. Thanks for letting me know, she replied, stepping back outside. She sighed. Once again, nothing. Suddenly, a calm voice spoke from the side of the road. I heard you've been looking for information about Gato. Naruko's eyes sharpened, and she turned to see an old man sitting quietly on a bench. Yeah. Do you know anything about him? She asked cautiously. Not much, the old man admitted. But it's better than nothing, I suppose. Do you know why they all leave so early? Naruko pressed. I'm not entirely sure, he said, stroking his long white beard. But I've heard there's a meeting place they go to. Do you know what they do there? Naruko asked, her curiosity piqued. The old man shook his head. I can only guess. Maybe they check their work or organize the things they've collected. Anything else? Naruko asked. Sorry, kid. That's all I know, he said kindly. Thank you, sir, Naruko said, bowing slightly before turning to leave. Hey! The man called. Naruko stopped and looked back. Yes? Just wondering. What will you do with this information? Naruko smiled faintly. Nothing for now, she said simply and walked on. The old man watched her go, a small smile on his face. Who knows? Maybe this kid will do something big one day, he thought. Kazuna Inn. When Naruko returned home, she was greeted by a cheerful scene. Inari and Akane were playing together, laughter ringing through the air. Tsunami watched with a warm smile, clearly enjoying the sight. What happened here? Naruko asked, raising an eyebrow as she took it all in. Naruko nay. Akane ran forward and hugged her tightly. Naruko returned the hug, her confusion fading into warmth. She had expected Inari to be stuck in his room, and Tsunami and Akane to be playing separately. Let me explain, Tsunami said, calling Naruko over. Flashback. Akane was sitting alone at the table, twirling her fork and sighing dramatically. She was bored enough to feel like she might disappear entirely. Akane, Inari, lunch is ready, Tsunami called. Akane jumped up and ran to the table. Inari, however, slowly emerged from his room, looking gloomy and withdrawn. Annoyed by his sad expression, Akane spoke out. Hey, what's your problem? Why are you always so gloomy? Inari ignored her. Hey! I'm talking to you, she insisted. Inari finally looked at her. It's none of your business, he muttered. I don't care. You should cheer up, Akane said firmly. Inari snapped. Leave me alone. You don't understand what it's like. You have your family, while mine. His voice faltered. Inari, stop. Tsunami intervened gently, but Inari didn't listen. Akane's small brow furrowed as she thought carefully. I know hard things happen, Inari. My daddy. He was hurt yesterday, and the bad guys took my mommy. I was all alone until Naruko-ne found me. I know she'll help me with my mommy because she's strong. Akane's voice shook with emotion, tears spilling from her eyes. Tsunami moved to comfort Akane, brushing her hair back. Inari looked at Akane, stunned. She had it even worse than me, he realized. Quietly, he stepped forward and gently patted her back. I'm sorry, he said. Akane sniffled, looked up at him, and smiled. It's all right, she said softly. Naruko watched the two of them, feeling a warm sense of pride and hope. Even in a world full of challenges, kindness and courage could bring people together in surprising ways. After that, they started playing together in the soft sunlight of Tsunami's backyard. Laughter filled the air, and it was thanks to Naruko that Akane's smile had returned. Tsunami watched, her eyes softening. You really helped my son today, even if you didn't mean to, said Tsunami warmly. Naruko shrugged, brushing a strand of bright orange hair from her face. It's nothing, really. I'm just happy he's smiling again. Tsunami nodded, her heart lightened. So, how was your search? Naruko sighed and crouched down beside Akane, who clutched her small hands tightly around Naruko's fingers. Not great. I didn't find much information, she admitted. Then she tilted her head at Akane with a playful grin. Still want to play with me, or do you want to play with Inari? You promise you'll play with me? Akane asked with a tiny pout, her eyes wide and hopeful. Naruko chuckled softly and scooped her up. All right, let's play outside, she said, carrying Akane to the yard. You can come too if you want, she added to Inari. Inari's face lit up, and she ran to follow them. Tsunami smiled from the doorway, quietly watching before heading back inside to prepare dinner. As Naruko ran around the yard with the kids, her mind drifted to other things. Maybe I can look through the Rasengan scroll later. I owe him so much for helping me with it. But then she shook her head and returned her attention to the present, spinning Akane gently and laughing along with her. 3 days later in Konoha. Screw these D-rank missions. I want higher rank missions so I can really prove myself, Sakura exclaimed, her determination radiating like sunlight. She marched ahead, leading her team, the brooding but talented Sasuke Uchiha, and Naruko Uzumaki, who, for reasons she kept private, refused to take up the Namikaze name. The three of them formed the infamous Team 7, guided by their calm and sometimes distracted Jonin-sensei, Kakashi Hatake. As they made their way toward the Hokage Tower, Sakura shot glances at Sasuke, who remained as mysterious and intense as ever. Meanwhile, Naruko tried not to glare too obviously at him, though Sasuke's occasional sidelong looks made her want to roll her eyes. Kakashi, as usual, was absorbed in his orange book, seemingly oblivious to everything else. It had been 6 months since they passed the ninja exams at 16. The village had adjusted their ages for missions, allowing young ninjas like them more time to train safely before facing the challenges of real missions. It was a peaceful time, and the children of the village were growing stronger and more confident every day. Naruko, now 16, had grown into a striking young woman. She had the familiar fiery orange hair of her mother Kushina, but with brighter yellow streaks and light blue eyes that shimmered in sunlight. She had a gentle heart-shaped face and a growing, athletic figure that reflected her hard training. Her skills had improved dramatically. Though she was still officially a Jonin, her abilities ranged from mid-Chunin to low Jounin level. She had trained with Itachi, Anko, Mikoto, Kurenai, and Yugao, mastering Kenjutsu, Genjutsu, and Ninjutsu to impressive levels. Her Kenjutsu, the art of swordsmanship, was her greatest strength, a gift passed down from her mother and honed through tireless practice. Despite all her growth, Naruko carried a quiet sadness. The disappearance of her brother had left a small ache in her heart. She had cried for days afterward, feeling responsible, though her mother's comforting presence reminded her she was never alone. Naruko also remembered vividly the day she first encountered the Kyuubi no Yoko, a few days after her brother's disappearance. That day, she had gained both the power and the soul of the Kyuubi, a secret that had changed her forever. Yet, even with that power, she focused on helping others, protecting those she loved, and growing stronger, not for fame, but for the people who mattered most to her. Naruko, a spirited girl with bright red hair, woke up to find herself in a strange, shadowy place. A soft greenish light glowed around a giant steel cage, which held the presence of a mysterious 9-tailed fox spirit named Yoko. The fox's eyes glimmered sharply, but Naruko bravely stepped forward, her small hands clenched into fists. "Where am I?" she asked, her voice echoing through the quiet space. Yoko's massive face emerged from the shadows, her 9 tails swaying gracefully. "You are in the place where power and spirit meet," the fox said gently, though her presence was imposing. "I am Yoko. And you are curious, aren't you?" Naruko swallowed nervously.
I didn't mean to bother you.
I just what?" Yoko tilted her head, watching the girl carefully. "I wanted to understand. To be strong. To protect people," Naruko admitted, her eyes reflecting a mix of fear and determination. Yoko's ears twitched, and she let out a low, rumbling laugh that was more amused than threatening. "I see. You are bold, little one. But strength without wisdom can be dangerous. That is why I am here. I will teach you, but not until you learn to believe in yourself." Naruko's chest swelled with determination. "I want to learn. Please, Yoko, I'll try my best." From that day forward, Naruko's days were filled with training, discovery, and self-reflection. Yoko guided her not by giving her power directly, but by helping her learn to trust her own abilities. Together, they explored the limits of Naruko's agility, her clever thinking, and her unique chakra, the energy inside her that could be used to create amazing effects, from glowing light to gentle bursts of energy. Naruko also spent time with her mother, Kushina, and 3 kind mentors, Kurenai, Yugao, and Anko, who helped her learn teamwork, strategy, and compassion. Living together in a small, warm home, Naruko discovered the meaning of friendship, trust, and family beyond bloodlines. She learned to forgive herself for past mistakes and focus on growing stronger, not for anyone else, but for herself and those she cared about. Even when Naruko felt lonely or overwhelmed, Yoko and her mother comforted her, reminding her that courage isn't about never feeling sad, it's about keeping going despite it. Every tear she shed became a spark of determination, pushing her to improve her skills, help others, and prepare for the day she might meet her older brother, Naruto, again. Naruko's training was rigorous. She went on small missions, learning to work with her friends, think quickly, and use clever strategies. At home, she trained with her mother and mentors, practicing her movements, focusing her energy, and learning the secrets of her family's skills. Yoko watched closely, stepping in with her fox powers only in moments of real danger or need, encouraging Naruko to grow independent and strong. Over time, Naruko's relationship with Yoko grew into one of trust and friendship. Naruko realized that even immense power, like Yoko's, was only meaningful when combined with heart, wisdom, and care for others. And through all of this, she dreamed of the day she could reunite with her brother, not only to see him but to show him how much she had grown. Naruko's journey was just beginning, but every step she took, every lesson she learned, and every moment of courage made her stronger, braver, and wiser. Team 7 was standing in front of the Hokage's office, waiting nervously. Naruko adjusted her headband and sighed, glancing at her teammates. Sakura bounced on her toes, ready to impress, while Sasuke just leaned against the wall, looking as cool and serious as ever. Kakashi, true to form, was slouching slightly, one eye half closed under his mask. Finally, the door opened, and they were ushered inside. Minato Namikaze, the Hokage, sat behind his desk, calm and smiling. Beside him was an older man with kind eyes. Team 7, congratulations on completing your last mission, Minato said. You've done well. Kakashi gave a small nod, Sasuke grunted in acknowledgement, and Sakura practically glowed with excitement. Naruko, however, kept her usual neutral expression, though inside she felt a little spark of pride. Minato looked over some papers. I see you've all completed many D-rank missions already. I think it's time for a challenge. Tomorrow, you'll be given a C-rank mission. It involves escorting a man named Tazuna to Nami no Kuni. Are you ready to accept it? Of course. My team can handle it, Kakashi replied confidently, giving his signature a smile. Sakura clapped her hands, delighted. This is my chance to show everyone how strong I am. Sasuke just crossed his arms and made a nonchalant noise. Naruko, meanwhile, let out a soft sigh, thinking about the journey ahead. Kakashi then instructed, we'll meet at the village gates tomorrow morning. Make sure to pack enough supplies for at least a week. And with a quick move, he disappeared in a sunshine, leaving the team to prepare. Naruko's house. When Naruko finally arrived home, she found her mother, Kushina, sitting on the couch with a cooking magazine. Hello, Ka-san. I'm home, Naruko said. Kushina looked up, smiling warmly. She hadn't changed much over the years, her hair long and flowing, her eyes bright and kind, her presence comforting. Hello, Naruko-chan. How was your day? Kushina asked. Busy but good. Another mission completed. Also, Sakura asked for a C-rank mission today, and tomorrow I'm starting my first C-rank mission, Naruko explained, her voice calm but tinged with anticipation. That's wonderful, Naruko-chan. I know you'll do great. You're strong, smart, and brave. And remember, if you ever need help, I'm here for you, Kushina said, giving her daughter a reassuring hug. Naruko's face softened, but a shadow of sadness passed over her eyes. I miss him, Ka-san, she whispered. I know, Musume, Kushina replied gently. But he's out there somewhere. And one day, you'll see him again. Naruko sighed, tears welling up. The last time I saw him was 8 years ago. I want to know he's safe. Kushina held her hand. He is safe. He's strong, and he can take care of himself. Trust me. Naruko nodded, feeling a little better. All right, Ka-san. Want to make dinner together? I'd love to, Kushina said, smiling. Together, they prepared dinner, laughing and chatting as they cooked. When the rest of the family came home, they all shared the meal, full of warmth and encouragement. Later, Naruko went to her room to pack for her mission, feeling both nervous and excited, and drifted off to sleep dreaming of the adventure ahead. Morning at the village gate. The next morning, Naruko waited patiently with Tazuna for her new team. She had arrived an hour earlier than expected, giving her plenty of time to look around and talk. Tazuna, cheerful and warm, told her about his life. He had a daughter and a grandson, and he ran a cozy little inn that always smelled of fresh bread. Naruko shared some of her own story, though she was still learning how to talk about herself. Soon, Sasuke and Sakura arrived, making their entrance with a quiet confidence. Kakashi, true to form, arrived much later, casually strolling as if time didn't matter at all. Naruko sighed but couldn't help smiling at his relaxed nature. All right, let's go, Kakashi said at last. And so, the 5 of them set off from Konoha toward Nami no Kuni, their hearts full of curiosity about the journey ahead. Sakura glanced at Sasuke, determination in her eyes. I'll show him what I can do, she thought, but her frown appeared as Sasuke's attention drifted toward Naruko. Naruko kept her focus on the horizon, feeling a gentle flutter of hope. I wonder how Naruto-ni is doing, she whispered to herself, remembering her friend fondly. I hope I can see him again someday. Tazuna, lost in thought, smiled softly. I hope Naruto is doing well, he thought, recalling the mischievous but kind boy he had met before. Unbeknownst to Naruko, Her wish might just be closer to coming true than she realized. The adventure ahead promised surprises, friendship, and moments that would test courage, kindness, and heart. Journey to Nami no Kuni. The path to Nami no Kuni was lined with tall trees that swayed gently in the morning breeze. Birds sang cheerful tunes, and sunlight danced across the leaves, making the forest feel alive. Naruko walked at the front of the group, her bright eyes full of curiosity. "Do you think we'll see any interesting animals on the way?" she asked Tazuna, who chuckled at her excitement. "You might," he said. "This forest has all kinds of little surprises. Keep your eyes open." Sakura, walking beside Naruko, tried to focus on keeping up, but she couldn't help sneaking glances at Sasuke. Naruko noticed and gave her a friendly smile. "Don't worry, you'll catch his attention with your skills when the time is right," she said, trying to ease the tension. Sasuke, who usually said very little, merely nodded, though inside he was already calculating the best ways to approach the challenges ahead. Kakashi, as usual, stayed slightly behind, his relaxed pace making the others shake their heads in mild frustration. After a while, the team reached a sparkling stream that cut across their path. The water was so clear that Naruko could see little fish darting beneath the surface. "Let's take a short break here," Kakashi suggested, and everyone agreed. Naruko knelt by the water and dipped her fingers in, watching the ripples spread. She felt peaceful here, like the forest was welcoming her. Suddenly, a small, chattering animal leapt from a nearby tree, a bright orange fox with a mischievous expression. It circled Naruko for a moment before darting toward the stream and splashing into the water. "Looks like someone wants to play," Naruko said, laughing. She reached out gently, and the fox responded by letting her pet its soft fur. The little animal's eyes sparkled as if it understood her heart. Sakura gasped. "Wow, it's so cute," she said, leaning closer to watch. Sasuke, meanwhile, raised an eyebrow but allowed himself a small smile. Even Kakashi looked mildly impressed. "All right, team," Tazuna said, clapping his hands. "We should keep moving. Nami no Kuni isn't far, but we want to reach it before sunset." Naruko stood up, feeling a new sense of energy. The day had already given her a small adventure, and she realized that traveling with her team wasn't just about missions, it was about friendship, trust, and discovering the little wonders in the world. As they walked deeper into the forest, Naruko's thoughts wandered to Naruto ni again. "I hope he's smiling wherever he is. Maybe one day we'll meet again, and I'll have so many stories to tell him." And with that hope in her heart, she stepped forward with determination, ready for whatever surprises the forest, and her journey, had in store. The puzzle of the singing stones. By late afternoon, the forest began to open into a wide clearing. In the center were large, smooth stones arranged in a circle, each etched with strange, swirling patterns. The air seemed to hum softly, like the stones themselves were singing. "Welcome to the Singing Stones," Tazuna said with a grin. "Legend says that if you step on the stones in the right order, they'll guide you safely through the forest to Nami no Kuni." Naruko's eyes sparkled with excitement. "A puzzle? I love puzzles," she exclaimed. She looked at the stones carefully. Each one made a different musical note when touched, ranging from high chirps to deep hums. Sakura leaned closer to Naruko. "Do you think we can figure it out?" she asked nervously. "We can if we work together," Naruko said confidently. "Let's listen carefully to the notes and see if they tell a story." Sasuke crossed his arms, observing quietly. "Patterns are key," he said simply, though his calm voice carried authority. Kakashi, still relaxed as ever, smirked. "Sometimes the simplest solution is the correct one," he added, watching the team with a hidden sparkle of amusement. The team began stepping lightly on the stones, experimenting with different sequences. Naruko noticed that when she stepped on a stone with a high note and then one with a low note, the stones seemed to hum a gentle melody. Sakura clapped her hands in excitement, trying another combination, while Sasuke kept track of which stones caused which notes. After several attempts, Naruko had an idea. She closed her eyes and let the rhythm of the forest guide her steps. One by one, she hopped across the stones, listening carefully to the harmonies. Slowly, the notes began to form a perfect melody that felt like it was welcoming them forward. The stones glowed softly, and a path of shimmering light appeared, leading toward a small bridge over a bubbling stream. The team cheered. "Well done, Naruko," Tazuna said proudly. "Your heart and intuition guided you. That's the true magic of the singing stones." Naruko smiled, her cheeks pink with happiness. "It feels amazing to solve it together," she said. "I can't wait to see what other adventures are waiting for us in Nami no Kuni." Sasuke gave a small nod, clearly impressed. Sakura grinned widely, and even Kakashi's one visible eye crinkled in a rare smile. As the team crossed the glowing bridge, Naruko felt a warm breeze brush against her face. Somewhere deep in the forest, it felt as though the trees themselves were cheering them on. Naruko thought to herself, this journey is already full of surprises. And I feel like I'm really growing as a ninja, and as a person. A new friend in Nami no Kuni. As the team continued along the glowing path, the forest around them seemed to shimmer with magic. Tiny lights floated in the air like dancing fireflies, and soft, melodic sounds echoed from the trees. Naruko's eyes sparkled with wonder. Suddenly, a rustling sound came from behind a large bush. Naruko stepped forward carefully, curious rather than scared. Out popped a small, round creature with big, twinkling eyes, fluffy ears, and a tail that glowed like a tiny lantern. It blinked at her, then bounced forward with a cheerful squeak. "Hello there," Naruko said, kneeling to its level. The creature tilted its head and made a happy chirping sound. It hopped onto her shoulder as if it had known her for a long time. Sakura clapped her hands in delight. "It's adorable." "What is it?" Kazuna chuckled. "That's a Nami fox. They're known for being playful and curious, and they sometimes guide travelers through the forests of Nami no Kuni." Sasuke studied the creature quietly. "It seems intelligent," he noted, watching it sniff Naruko's hair before giving a happy little squeak. Kakashi smirked. "Looks like Naruko's got herself a travel buddy. Don't let it distract you too much from the mission, though." Naruko laughed. "I won't. But maybe it can help us." She turned to the Nami fox. "Can you help us find our way?" The little creature chirped again, hopping ahead as if it understood perfectly. The team followed, and they quickly noticed that the forest seemed to respond to the Nami fox. Flowers leaned toward them as they passed, and gentle lights lit the way across tricky paths. Naruko's heart filled with joy. Having this tiny, magical companion made the journey feel lighter, happier, and even more exciting. As the sun began to dip toward the horizon, Naruko patted the Nami fox on the head. "We make a great team, don't we?" The creature chirped in agreement, curling up on her shoulder like it belonged there. Naruko looked around at her team, Sakura smiling brightly, Sasuke quietly observing, Kakashi walking leisurely behind, and Tazuna leading the way. She realized that adventures weren't just about reaching a destination, they were about the friends you made and the bonds you built along the way. With a new friend by her side and a team she trusted, Naruko felt ready for anything that Nami no Kuni might have in store. She took a deep breath of the fresh forest air and whispered, "Let's see what surprises await us next." As the team reached the edge of Nami no Kuni, the forest opened into a bright, peaceful meadow. The sunlight made the grass sparkle like tiny jewels, and in the distance, soft, colorful flowers swayed in the gentle breeze. Naruko looked around, feeling a deep sense of accomplishment. She glanced at her teammates, Sakura grinning with excitement, Sasuke standing quietly but clearly satisfied, Kakashi with his usual relaxed smile, and Tazuna walking proudly beside them. And on her shoulder, the little Nami fox chirped happily, as if celebrating their journey with her. Naruko smiled and thought about all they had experienced, solving the singing stones puzzle, working together to find the path, and discovering the magical Nami fox. She realized that the adventure wasn't just about reaching Nami no Kuni, it was about learning, growing, and appreciating the friends who supported her along the way. She turned to the team and said softly, "I've learned something important on this journey. No matter how tricky the path is, we can accomplish anything if we help each other, stay kind, and never give up." Sakura nodded, her eyes shining. "And sometimes, it's the little things, like laughter, curiosity, and believing in yourself, that make the biggest difference." Sasuke, usually quiet, added in his calm voice, "Strength isn't just about skills. It's about trust, patience, and doing what's right." Even Kakashi gave a rare nod of approval. "That's right. And sometimes, the journey itself teaches you more than the destination ever could." Naruko looked up at the sky, thinking of Naruto Ni and all the friends she had back in Konoha. "I hope one day we can all meet again," she whispered, feeling hopeful and inspired. The meadow was calm and bright, and for the first time that day, Naruko felt completely at peace. With her new friends by her side, her magical companion on her shoulder, and a heart full of hope and courage, she knew that no matter what adventures lay ahead, she could face them with kindness, curiosity, and determination. And so, Naruko's journey in Nami no Kuni was only just beginning, but she had already discovered one of the greatest truths of all: friendship, teamwork, and believing in yourself can light even the darkest path. Dear YouTube family, this is all for now. Please like, share, and subscribe to my channel, it truly means a lot. Thank you for being part of this journey, and stay tuned for more exciting content. Warm regards. Anime Octopus.